It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Rhode Island College assistant women's basketball Coach Clarissa Defar. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Brandon. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college women's basketball?
Well, the funny thing about it, I had no desire at first to coach. I had just finished playing at Rhode Island College, and a position at one of the local high schools had come up, and my college coach actually asked would I help out with the team, and I did, and that's where it was born. I started to coach, and I was lucky enough to coach under Marcus Riley, who now coaches at Bryant University here. And when he moved on to the Community College of Rhode Island, he asked me to follow him, and I did. And I've been there ever since. It's just been a great experience working with the young ladies throughout the years, and it's been a privilege to be able to provide and give some guidance. It's never really just been about basketball for me. It's about helping them develop as young women in life. So it was like an accident that I started coaching at the college level, or even at the high school level. It was out of a favor to a coach, and here I am, almost feels almost 30 years. So it's been a while, but that's how I got started. It was an accident.
Of course, what was it like playing for Rhode Island College?
It was interesting playing there. So prior to playing there, I was at the Community College of Rhode Island, played my 2 years of eligibility. I had taken a year off to really focus on my academics. The year I transferred to Rhode Island College, the gym had burnt down. The Walsh gym at the time had burnt down. So we didn't have a home gym on campus. We had to play off site. So the teammates and the coaches, we all had to adjust. And so I always say it was interesting because when we played at the small gym that they got for us, we thought we were in the best shape of our lives. I joke about it all the time that it was great running sprints, absolutely. But then when we got to our opponents' gyms, being 94 feet, it was a difference. So it was interesting. It was a lot of adversity we had to overcome, but I made some great memories there. The staff, the athletic staff that were there at the time, and my coaches and teammates, they made it easy to play there, and we had a great time. So interesting.
Of course, what was it like getting to put on that jersey for Rhode Island College?
A sense of pride, being a state school, and being able to play with other local women that I had played against in high school that, maybe we weren't too fond of each other at the time. But to be able to put on that jersey and now we have a common purpose, it really was a moment of pride. It may sound a little silly, but I was proud to put on that jersey. And when we traveled to represent the state, represent the school, it was that's how I looked at it. It was pride. I was happy to do it.
Of course, during your playing time, what were some of your biggest accomplishments as a basketball player?
um I'll be honest. I have a hard time talking about that, because I always look back that I was fortunate, I guess, to accomplish many individual goals, but none of that would have been possible without my teammates supporting me. But I think one of the highlights was scoring my 1,000 point at Rhode Island College. I had only been there for 2 years, and that was one. And being selected, I should say, the player of the year in my senior year. I think for me, those were, two big accomplishments that I can look back on and, and be happy about in some respects. But that's because my teammates were there. And so I give them the credit for what I accomplished.
How is it like, obviously, being inducted as a player to the New England Basketball Hall of Fame?
It was to find out I was being inducted. I was surprised and shocked. But it really, it's gratifying in some respects. We talk about blood, sweat, and tears as players, and what you put into it, you'll get out of it. And I was humbled that I was selected and inducted with, such an amazing group of other players that night, from various levels that were inducted that evening. So, it's a humbling experience, but it brought me some, satisfaction that I did okay. I did all right. Someone thought enough to say, well, you deserve this honor. So I'm not trying to be elitist, but I had to work really hard, and I was glad to be recognized.
Of course, how is it like getting started in your coaching career and coaching at the Community College of Rhode Island?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Brandon?
Mm-hmm. How is it like getting started in your coaching career and coaching at the Community College of Rhode Island?
Starting my college career at the Community College of Rhode Island was very different than what it is now at Rhode Island College, because it was a junior college. So we were able to, not that we can't necessarily do it at Rhode Island College, but the recruiting process was different because it is a 2-year school. At the time that I was there, under the head coaches I worked under, our thought process was, we want to get some of the best players within the region. We actually had a couple of players from Australia that came in, and then were able to graduate and move on to finish off their careers at a division, 2, 3, or 1 school. So they moved on from us. So the recruiting process there was different. Coaching wise, there was a lot of like mom stuff that I had to do, because most of our athletes were not from this area. There were many from out of state, from, Baltimore, Maryland, Australia, as I mentioned. We almost had 1 or 2 from Canada come down. So, there was a lot of like mom moments, not just coaching moments. So I wore a lot of hats at the time. I don't have to necessarily wear many of those now at Rhode Island College, but sometimes they come out and I put them on. But that's how I feel about my start there. It was learning that part of the process. I think the basketball piece was a little easier, but all the other things that were needed to make that program as successful as it was in my time there, it was a little overwhelming, but it was fun.
How is that transition like from you from going from coaching community college to a Division I school?
So we played Division II at the junior college level. So the Community College of Rhode Island was Division II for JUCO. And then when we went to Rhode Island College, which is a Division III school, the difference there was that the athletes that we try to get in, I know that most of the athletes want to get the Division I or Division II scholarships. So we don't have scholarships at the Division III level, but we run our program as if we were playing at that elite level. And that's what we try to recruit. And we've been fortunate that in this area of New England, with Connecticut, Massachusetts, even New Hampshire, Rhode Island as well, we've been fortunate to draw in those players that want to play here, and just give them a great experience. And I think looking at what we've been able to accomplish the last few years at Rhode Island College, I'm hoping that it'll be a nice draw. But that was definitely the shift. Was the recruiting aspect of it, because we stayed a little more local or regional, if that's the proper way to say it. We're more regional with Rhode Island College. So
Of course, how is the transition like from going from being a player of Rhode Island College to now a coach of Rhode Island College?
the transition has been, I think, fairly easy for me, in the sense of, because I played in the conference. The conference is certainly a very strong conference. It's now a 9-team conference as opposed to when I was a player, but it's been strong. And with the knowledge that I had as a player, to be able to pass that on to the players and let them know. So we still have, some of the teams that I considered powerhouses still. And, the great thing with our conference is that sometimes there's a flux in who it is. In the years I played, it had been Southern Maine for many years. In the last recent years that I've been coaching, we had the likes of UMass Dartmouth, really stepping up and being at the finals. We've had Castleton added to the conference, and they've coming a long way as well and very competitive. All the teams in our conference are competitive. So I think the change for me was easy in the sense that the information and the experience that I've had within the conference, it's been easy to pass on to the players for them to understand how tough this conference is and the fluxing of the conference. And it's anybody's game. Honestly, every year it can change. So and they don't take that lightly. They take the information and they tell them to be sponges, and they take it, and we can see the carryover from it. So I think it's been easy to be able to pass that on.
Of course, what is it like coaching against those teams in your conference, like UMass and UMaine?
It's a rivalry, but a healthy one. As I had said previous, in some years, some teams really excel and they explode. Other years, it's somebody else. So I think knowing that as a coach, and being able to press that upon our players in the way that we coach the game and we give the strategies of each team, it makes it fun, exciting for them. They don't take it for granted. I know, I'm sure that we have a target on our back through the success that we've accomplished the last couple of years, especially through COVID. That was not easy for anybody. But our kids this year definitely are not taking things for granted, and to know that it really can be anybody's year. I think that gives added excitement to starting the season. And again, you can never take a night off in our conference ever. And I like that.
Of course, what does a game day look like as a coach versus as a player for Rhode Island College?
Well, at least for our players, we have a shoot around typically in the morning. So if we have a 1:00 game, we'll have our players come in at 9 to 10. We'll go over some game strategies, let them shoot around, loosen up. They'll be given that time after to have breakfast, whatever their game day routine is. I know my routine personally, after the shoot around, is to take some downtime in one of the classrooms, go over the scouting report, maybe make any last minute notes to the coach. The coaches will, get together and again, try to finalize anything. And, I'll go to the trainers as well, in case there's some type of report that needs to go to our head coach. I'll take that responsibility on game day. So for the kids, I think it's a little less stressful in some way because they get to do the fun part of it. Where as the coach, we're in that constant mode of the what ifs and always trying to stay ahead. So I think we try to keep it loose for our kids because we don't want them going into a game day too stressed out over things. So we, as the coaches, take that responsibility on, and hopefully we can maintain a steady level of emotions, and our players really can read that well from us, and then they're able to maintain that steady level of emotion as well. So I think for me, that's the difference as a player, and that of our coaching staff as a whole.
Of course, how's it like going to Southern Maine to play them versus obviously getting to play them at home?
Well, at least for me, remembering that drive as a player, it's about 3 hours or so for us to get to the campus. And I'll be honest, when I returned to coaching when I returned to coaching the second time at Rhode Island College, and we traveled up to Southern Maine, I was telling the head coach, I said, "Oh God, I always hated this drive." They've always been competitive. Their campus really comes out to support them out there. Honestly, it's just a great vibe up there. Even at Keene State, when we go play there, you almost dread it to a point, but in a good way, because it keeps the game exciting. It's loud. It's, at least for me as a player, I enjoyed that kind of atmosphere. And it's just fun. It's fun to compete in that kind of atmosphere. And our players, I think, really enjoy it. It's different for them when they get in those smaller gyms, and that volume of loud and support are there. But our hope is that they thrive for it. So even at Eastern Connecticut State, that's a large gym, and they pack that house, and it's just great. It's great. That's what basketball at this level should be about, that campus support. And God, they have it. They have it in Groves. So it's fun. A lot of fun.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've started to build upon for Rhode Island College?
Sure. The culture there is, and most coaches will say, we want a family atmosphere. And it's always been very important to me. We're not just developing basketball players. We're just developing young ladies to, at some point, the basketball gets put down. And it's important that they understand that the skills that they've developed during athletics, basketball, maybe they're multi-sport athletes. We talk about dedication, commitment, organization, time management with them. These are all things that in life you get ahead of because of your experience here, as an athlete, because these are the things that are demanded of you. So that's part of the culture. And what we have seen over the last few years, this will be my 4th season at Rhode Island College, and our seniors today have a better understanding of that. And what the nice thing is that they're passing it on, and they're showing that to the underclassmen. So it's very much a player driven culture, but in a very positive, family environment way. One thing just yesterday, I've just reminded the girls, and I said, we all know what each other is going through because we are here together. So this is our group. This is our family. You're never going to go through something alone, just to remind them of that. So if something comes up, reach out. It's not just about basketball, that we want to instill that. And that's what I have seen with our culture, that it's really becoming a very family-based support system. And that our upperclassmen are passing that on, to our underclassmen. So it's nice to see that. To me, is what the culture is about.
Of course, being an alumni of the school and now a coach, what is that like on game day, seeing them put on that jersey and represent not just the school, but you as an alumni?
It's a sense of pride that I have a small hand in it. And it's even nicer to see other alumni across from us. We're sitting on the bench, and to be able to point that out to our players, and you can see that wow, they do come back. And our hope is that you now will come back when it's your time, right? Because you'll end your senior year and come back, and we want to see you across the way in the stands. And I think for them to see that level of support, and they have that level of support on the bench as well. I would hope that for them as well, it's a sense of pride that they're a part of, again, a community, of a family of these women who were players here and come back year after year to continue that support and cheer them on through thick and thin. So that's how I feel. Sorry.
Of course, what does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play college basketball?
I would say for prospective student athletes interested in playing in the college level is to, really work with your coaches, either the high school or the AAU coaches, to really develop maybe their areas that they're not so strong with. It's very easy for an athlete. I've spoken with athletes, and they're like, yes, I'm a great 3-point shooter and this, and then I'll ask, well, how are you on defense? And you can just see this whole shift in demeanor and wow. So I would say for those prospective athletes, just to, again, work with your coaches and ask the question, what do I need to work on? I would also say, depending on the level that you're attempting to go to, if it's Division 1, 2, or 3, many players I see at the high school level may be a forward, but now when you step onto the college stage, you're not a forward, maybe because of your height. You may be 5'9", but you're not going to be a forward at a Division 1 or 2 school at 5'9", really. Typically, you're not. So, having the mindset to have a diversity in your game, and then just keep working and working and working at it.
Of course, what do you look at in those prospective student athletes when on the road?
I know, I'll be honest, I don't do too much of the recruiting. I am a part-time coach at Rhode Island College, so I do have a full-time job, and unfortunately I don't get on the road, but I do get to meet them when they come on campus for an official or unofficial tour. And I know my questions tend to gear towards what their experiences have been, either with their AAU team, or at the with their high school teams. I like to know what kind of character they have. I like to know, what is important to them. Is it just basketball? What are the other things that are important? How would you rank certain things? Is it fit basketball, family, friends, something like that. So I really like to have an understanding of who they are. Because we can have some of the best players on the team, but if they don't have in a sense, a good personality or characteristics about them that now will not mesh with the group that is the basis of your team, that could be a recipe for trouble. And you don't want that. But again, when I meet the student athlete on campus, that's what I do. I try to find out, who are they? Like, what are their likes, dislikes, and maybe sometimes throw a question in there that might challenge them a little bit and see how they respond. And, Coach Cosgrove does a lot of the recruiting, and she does have a keen sense for a player, if they're going to mesh or not mesh. And then when they get on campus too, we have our players give us, as they say, the down low on the prospective student athlete. So it's those are, it's not just about basketball, in my opinion, when we do the recruiting process.
Of course, what is it like, obviously, as an alumni and a coach, getting to see them put on that jersey and fall in love with the colors?
I think, I'm wearing burgundy right now. I love the colors, and I hope they do too. I know they it's just a great feeling to have a group of women, players, alumni, all show up in these kind of atmosphere with the same colors, because again, that just shows the bond that we have. So I've said it before, it gives me a sense of pride and accomplishment.
What advice would you give those high school athletes that are looking to make it onto the college level?
I'm sorry, Brandon, can you repeat that?
What advice would you give those high school athletes looking to make it on the college level?
I think it goes back to, one, for them to continue to enhance their own skill sets. I would also say that they should be interviewing, in a sense, prospective schools, talk to players, talk to coaches, network a little bit so you can get the information you need about the school as well. It's one thing to say, yes, I want to go play there, but you also want to make sure that you're going to be happy at the school itself, not just about the program. We're in season, and that's great, and that's basketball. But you really want to be able to find that you're happy on the campus as a whole as well. So I would say make sure that you do your homework and ask as many questions as you need.
What advice would you give those college athletes looking to play in college and then go into the WNBA or Athletes Unlimited, or even internationally?
I would say network. It goes without saying that you have to play all year round. You have to, enhance your skills. If you're not if you struggle with your dribbling, you better stay on that and find good competition wherever you can. And again, just keep at it. It will be a year-round commitment if that's the level you want to achieve. And don't be afraid to ask the questions that you feel. Go back to your old coaches. I was fortunate to have a few players go play overseas. So you know what? A player of mine now is interested in asking about that. I know I can say, well, I'll hook you up and have you speak to so-and-so who played, over in Spain a few years ago, and again, you're networking and getting all that advice and guidance as best you can. So that's what I would say for that.
What advice would you give those future college coaches looking to get started in the industry of coaching?
My advice to them would be to attend clinics, go to your local, if you're a high school coach wanting to break into the college level, it's go to local colleges, speak to those coaches, go to their practices. You never know what kind of opportunity may open just locally, but I would say definitely clinics. Put yourself out there in some regards. Go to conferences. And again, it's about networking at the college level. Who do you know? Who can you get advice from? And sometimes, there's an opening somewhere, and because you've been corresponding with a head coach, you may get that opportunity. They give you that phone call and say, hey, can we talk? I have an opening. Would like to know if you're available, if you're interested. But I think for anyone interested in getting into the college level, it is about networking and going to clinics to, again, you don't want to be stale in what you know. So you can work with those kids.
What advice would you give those people such as yourself that is looking to coach for their alma mater?
I think it would go back to networking too. So get involved with your local school. I'm on the booster club, or I was. Again, get to know who's the athletic director at the school, who's the assistant athletic director of the school, who are the coaches. Participate in events that the athletic department has throughout the year for their fundraising purposes as well. So I would say it's about networking, and sometimes it's about luck. I think sometimes it's luck. It's your time, and but you have to be known to people. So that's where the networking really comes in.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media, along with the Rhode Island College women's basketball program at?
Well, I know on Facebook, it's Rhode Island College women's basketball for our Facebook page. Also Rhode Island Athletics for our athletic department. I want to say Twitter, it's at Go Anchorman. I believe that's our Twitter. I'll be honest, I'm not very good with technology, but and then you can just go to the website as well. It's goanchorman.com.
Thank you again, Coach Claudia, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as you begin the journey for Rhode Island College as the assistant women's basketball coach.
Thank you so much, Brandon. It been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Claudia, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.